This is a Benchy printed in under 28 minutes with minimal tuning using readily available entry-level 3D printing products that cost less than $425. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I did it and how you can use what I learned in this process to speed up your 3D printer too. If you've only recently tuned in, you might be fooled into thinking that this channel is all about peak performance, the cutting edge, but here at the next layer, we believe that fast, quality 3D prints are a basic maker right. We believe that whether or not you have thousands of dollars to spend, you should be able to print high quality, engineering grade parts fast without breaking the bank. Enter Sovol, the makers of the SV06 and now the SV06 and a longtime sponsor of this channel, including, full disclosure, this video. Though, honestly, I'd probably make this video even if they weren't sponsoring it, because who doesn't like printing fast for cheap? Anyways, recently Sovol has been getting a lot of attention and publicity from many of the most respected thought leaders in the industry, some of whom have even gone as far as to ask if the SV06 has replaced the Ender 3 as the #1 best budget-friendly 3D printer for beginners. And it's easy to see why. For just $259, you basically get an exact copy of the legendary Prusa Mark III's Plus, formerly my go-to It Just Works printer, but with improvements like a slightly larger build volume, dramatically quieter operation, convenient belt tightening, an extremely powerful planetary direct drive gearbox, and significantly nicer fit and finish due to injection molded parts. I've even had great success printing everything from PLA to PETG and even ASA on this. And for those of you already typing a fiery response in the comments below about how this $259 printer could never be compared to the legendary Prusa, just remember that this machine is fully open source, just like the Mark III's Plus it's based on, from hardware to software. That's all well and good, but let's face it. As I pointed out in recent videos, the Prusa Mark III's Plus is, well, it's a dinosaur. Perhaps when Sovol began designing this machine, it was going to be an absolute game changer, but in between then and now, we all know what happened. The Bambu Lab P1P, as well as a few other super fast machines like the FLSun V400, the Snapmaker J1, and the AnchorMake M5, all hit the market. Whereas 80mm a second print speeds and super high reliability used to cut the mustard, today they don't impress like they used to. But as you're about to see, this machine still has so much to offer, and it still might be the best value out there. Let me explain. But first, let's talk about the software and interface to make this happen. See, because the Prusa is such a dinosaur, and we're slowly seeing most of these machines with simple 8-bit boards and touch knob interfaces go the way of the dinosaurs, you can imagine my excitement when the folks at Pergear reached out and offered to send me the new Creality Sonic Pad for review. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Sonic Pad is basically a tablet for your 3D printer, complete with a touchscreen. And that's great for upgrading an aging printer to a more modern interface. But it's actually not what makes this so interesting. See, that comes from the fact that the Sonic Pad allows you to quickly and easily insert asterisk here, upgrade your slow Marlin 3D printer to the increasingly popular Klipper firmware, which used to be only for people who are willing to mess around in Linux, but which requires a much more powerful processor than the 8-bit one in your 3D printer. Now, I know you've probably already heard about Klipper, and if you're like me, you've been intimidated by the prospect of flashing firmware and maybe messing up your printer. But listen up, it's literally never been easier, again, insert asterisk here, to flash, learn, and use Klipper thanks to products like the Sonic Pad. And with Raspberry Pis in extremely short supply, $160 for a Sonic Pad really isn't bad at all, especially when you factor in the fact that one Sonic Pad can simultaneously run no less than 4 3D printers. Now, for clarity's sake, Creality and Pergear did not sponsor this video. That honor goes to Sovol, but they did send me a free unit to try out. But one way or another, free product or not, to me, this is a no-brainer. Here in Israel, where I live, just the Raspberry Pi without a touchscreen or the included accelerometer or stand is going to go for $164. But you're not here to hear about me gush about how great these products are or how awesome it is that I get free stuff, which honestly, it's really awesome. So thank you guys for following the channel. Seriously. What you want to know is how I got a 28-minute benchy out of them and how you can make your own 3D printer faster. So let's now talk about the conversion. Creality markets the Sonic Pad as a pretty much plug-and-play upgrade for your 3D printer, and while that may be true for the limited list of their own 3D printers that are featured on the default firmware and software, it definitely wasn't my experience with the SV06. The first step, flashing the SV06 to run on Klipper firmware, was easy enough. I just downloaded the right profile, which I've linked in the description below because it wasn't easy to find. Then I loaded it onto an SD card and I booted up the printer. But when it came time to connect the Sonic Pad, I hit a wall, which left this entire printer bricked until I could figure it out. I played with the Sonic Pad and the SV06 on and off for a week trying to figure out what I needed to do and how to do it, and Googling seemingly random error codes to no avail. Creality customer support tried to help, but after a bunch of honestly pretty prompt email responses, they told me that I was on my own because it wasn't their printer. Great! Eventually though, I found some obscure YouTube videos, Facebook posts in the SV06 owners group, and GitHub files that led me down the right path. See, basically what I needed to do was find the right printer.cfg file for the SV06, which again, I will link in the description below to make it easy for all of you, and then load that onto the USB thumb drive. Then, as it turns out, and this is an important one, I needed to plug both the thumb drive and the printer into specific ports on the Sonic Pad, which may have been explained or documented somewhere, but I sure couldn't find it. And yes, unlike typically, I did take the time to read through the manual, at least the first couple pages. Anyways, once I had my ports right, the Sonic Pad just worked exactly as advertised, flashing the SV06, re-enabling the screen, and creating a web interface where I could now access the printer. I was up and running. Now, I just needed to get my software stack working as well. At the time of this recording, my slicer of choice was Prusa Slicer. More on that in an upcoming video. And so I went about adding the SV06 to Prusa Slicer. While I did already have a profile from when I originally tested the SV06, it was not only too slow, but didn't have any Wi-Fi connectivity for sending G-codes directly to the printer. To be honest with you, because this printer is so similar to the Mark III's Plus, I just copied that profile from Prusa Slicer and then began changing things like the dimensions, since they are just a little bit different. You can see that I even left in a bunch of start and end G codes specific to the Mark III's Plus because it doesn't make a difference. From there, I configured the physical printer profile to connect to the Sonic Pad. Pro tip here, did you know that Moonraker allows you to access via your browser using the Octoprint API? That means that all I needed to do was select Octoprint in the dropdown, put in the URL of the Sonic Pad, which I had to find by scanning all the devices on my local network, and hit save. I actually didn't even need to generate an API key or anything like that, which I guess means that anyone on my local network could technically take over my printers. I don't know, I better guard my Wi-Fi password just in case. Now, I'm going to get into the settings, speeds, and all of that in a second, but I do just want to take a quick moment to talk about the user experience, now that I have this thing up and running on Klipper with a touchscreen. Obviously, a central part of this combination is this massive 7-inch touchscreen, which really does allow you to control every aspect and every function of the printer, from preheating to choosing files to whatever else you want to do. I can't overstate just how awesome this is, considering I've been struggling for the last month or more trying to design a custom mount and figure out why the display isn't working and otherwise struggled to get Klipper screen working on my Voron 2.4 with no observable success so far. I can just imagine getting 4 of my printers to all run Klipper via this one Sonic pad and then designing some kind of custom mount to put it right in the middle of the shelf so that I'll have access to one clean touchscreen interface to control all of them without having to reach up and try and get to the different touchscreens. But of course, the touchscreen is only part of the experience, and it's a relatively small one at that. See, another of the main draws of Klipper, at least for me, is the sleek, fast, and responsive web interface. And of course, the speed. We're gonna get to the speed in a second, relax. Coming from Octoprint and Marlin, you'll find that Klipper is just slimmed down and much more customizable and tweakable, and it's generally more advanced. I'm sorry, Octoprint. I can't say I love the default theme and layout of the widgets that Creality chose for the Sonic Pad, but the beauty is I can just change and personalize it really easily to my heart's content. Though I still haven't actually made the time to do that on my Voron, so I'm pretty pessimistic that I'm actually gonna have the time to do it on this. Overall though, I've really been enjoying Klipper's web interface as opposed to Octoprint, and I've found workarounds for most of the stuff that I liked about the latter, whether it's exclude object or OBCO for Klipper for remote viewing and monitoring. And in case you are wondering, yes, you can connect a camera to the Sonic Pad for remote monitoring or time lapses, and you can use a USB hub to connect multiple cameras so that you have enough ports for all 4 printers. All right, with all the setup out of the way, let's talk about speed. One of the coolest things about the Sonic Pad, and one which I really appreciated given that I broke the super delicate 80XL accelerometer that LDO provided me for my Voron build, is that the Sonic Pad comes with a well-protected plug-and-play accelerometer, which even has a diagram on it to help you ensure that you place it correctly. I simply double-sided taped it, followed the on-screen guidance, and in no time at all, I had automatically generated the recommended values for acceleration as well as the optimal resonance compensation algorithm. No, installing Klipper will not turn your Cartesian bed slinger into a Core XY monster like my Voron or the Bambu Lab X1 Carbon. But I was pretty surprised to see that I could nonetheless comfortably go to up to 300 millimeters per second speeds and 3,000 millimeters per second accelerations. Now those values are about 40% as fast as my Voron, but this printer costs almost 90 to 95% less and comes fully assembled, which I think might make this a better bang for the buck, honestly speaking. But how fast can it actually print? Well, after my initial successful 38-minute benchy that I shared on a YouTube short, I decided to go for broke, and I tried printing a benchy using the reasonably fast profiles that I've been tweaking for my Voron 2.4. And here are the highlights. 0.25 millimeter layer heights, 10% infill, 3 top and bottom layers, all the standard stuff, except print speeds ranging from 200 to 300 millimeters per second. Yes, I know that because of the small model size and the relatively low 3000 millimeters per second acceleration, I'm rarely if ever going to actually hit those speeds. But surely this heavy bed slinger with the massive planetary direct drive extruder won't be able to go anywhere near them, right? Surely this off-the-shelf extruder and hot end, even with the 0.6 millimeter CHT style nozzle upgrade from good old Uncle Ali, won't be able to match what I'm achieving on my Phaetus Rapido, right? I mean, this budget, sub $300 3D printer is probably going to fall apart, or spontaneously combust, or cause a rift in the space-time continuum, right? I made room in my PLA recycling bin for what I expected would be a mess of spaghetti. I loaded up some voxel PLA, which experience has taught me performs much better at high speeds than even more expensive PLAs, and prayed. And you guys won't believe what happened next. The benchy failed because I needed a little more Z-hop and a cleaner print surface. But the next time I tried to print it, it printed in 34 minutes because I didn't notice that the acceleration had reset back down at the beginning of the print. But the next time, 27 minutes, 55 seconds. And it looks pretty darn good too. And yet, I still didn't feel like I was going nearly as fast as I could go. I was pretty sure that if I cranked the accelerations above the recommended values, I'd still get a half-decent looking benchy and probably be able to shave off a minute or two in the process. Unfortunately, I don't have time this week to test it out. But in case any of you want to try it out or just use my profiles and settings for this setup, I will make sure that the G-code 3MF and profile files are available to my Patreon supporters at patreon.com/thenextlayer. But obviously, a benchy is just that, a benchmark. So check out these other high-quality prints alongside the corresponding times that they took to print out. These results are pretty insane considering my Voron 2.4 with Core XY kinematics, a lightweight pancake extruder, Betis Rapido hot end, blah 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 blah, is doing about 20 to 21 minute benchies, though admittedly with some tweaking and tuning, I could probably crack the 15 to 16 minutes. But there's more to life and more on my plate than fast benchies. So we'll just have to wonder. Nevertheless, I think you'd all agree that these results are pretty remarkable. I mean, as we speak, a pre-assembled Prusa Mark III's Plus with an old school LCD knob interface, zero input shaping, and a smaller build volume will cost you a staggering $1,100. And here we have this near exact replica with better fit and finish, quieter operation, and the addition of a massive touchscreen printing at roughly 3 times the speed for under $425. And keep in mind that one Sonic Pad can run 4 printers. And that means that you could basically get 3 of these printers, 1 Sonic Pad, CHT nozzles for all of them, and still have enough money for a roll of filament for each one of the printers. Basically, you could set up an entire print farm with 9 times the output for the price of one fully assembled Prusa Mark III's Plus. Come on, that's insane. And yet, there's no denying that this still is, in all honesty, an entry-level combination. It's just that what constitutes entry-level has only recently shifted due in large part, I think, to both of these products, and competing ones like the FL Sun Sonic Pad. No, this combination will not churn out 17-minute benchies like Bambu Lab's mid-market offering, the P1P. And it certainly won't print 350mm plates of engineering-grade materials like nylon or polycarbonate. And it's definitely not perfect. I would really appreciate if it had a filament runout sensor, for starters. But for under $425, I challenge you to beat it, whether in terms of build quality, print quality, speed, or just user experience. And plus, for just $70 more, you could recreate this exact setup with the new Sovol SV06 Plus, which features a massive 300 by 300 by 400 build volume, a much-needed filament sensor, a high-flow volcano-style hot end, and a touchscreen, which won't work once you convert to Klipper, though I bet you could probably sell the touchscreen to an SV06 owner, or perhaps in the near future, Sovol will come out with an option to maybe omit it from your order. Who knows? Either way you cut it, it's amazing to me to see how far the entry level has come in terms of price performance. When I got into 3D printing on a lowly G-Tech A10M, I was thrilled to print a half-decent benchy in under an hour and 52 minutes with a significantly less enjoyable user experience. It honestly has got me thinking. Maybe I should convert all my printers to Klipper and run all of them off of this one Sonic Pad. While it certainly isn't plug and play for the non-Creality machines, the benefits are pretty significant, and it would be a lot easier than having all these different interfaces and different touchscreens strewn about at different heights on my shelves. Plus, I can think of a lot of different projects that I could do by freeing up the various Raspberry Pis that are currently running all my different printers. I'm even thinking about migrating my Prusa Mark III's Plus to Klipper, because if it doesn't get faster somehow, it's gonna need to find a new home. Is it really that simple though? Just plug in a Sonic Pad, bolt on a knockoff CHT nozzle, scour the web for the appropriate Klipper profiles, and triple the speed of your printer? Maybe. We'll have to see. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see a follow-up to this video where I try to upgrade my Prusa or any other printer that you'd like to see me review. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see all of you on the next layer.